So, wow, day two. Let's go. Let's go. This is awesome. Um, Before we get started, I just wanted to say thank you so much to everybody for sharing our summit. A lot of the people who have been joining have been saying, a friend invited me, a friend invited me. And so thank you for impacting not only your family's life, but the families of your friends as well. Like, that's so awesome. So day one with Judy yesterday was on fire. If you could just give her some thanks in the chat, that would be awesome. So many people were impacted by her yesterday. Here are just a few of the things that people were saying. Let's see. Lindsay said, "Oh my goodness, just watched it. This was so good, life-changing even." Amber said, "Dr. Judy was great. Looking forward to putting this into action and being the calm, nonsense mom. No nonsense mom." Love it. Julie, she said, "Really interesting about the best way to prepare a child for school is teaching self-regulation. I feel like this should be more common knowledge than it is. Feeling very inspired. Thank you both." This one I really, really liked. Just two more here. So Brianna, she said, "My biggest takeaway is how to talk to my toddler when setting a boundary quietly and nicely, saying, 'I'd be happy to let you blank as long as blank,' and follow through." I already started applying this after nap time, and what a difference it has already made. There were less battles. My 3-year-old listened more than she ever has. I became more pleasant to be around, which made everyone in my family, including me, happier, and I felt more relaxed, like a weight has started to lift off my shoulders. Great first day. Can't wait to keep applying and practicing it." Like, wow. Like, she saw results already. Last one. So my own hubby, he watched the replay and he posted, "I want to share my takeaway as a dad. We guys can struggle with patience and typically want results right now. I know I am quick to show my anger face and raise a hairy eyebrow sometimes. I have been trying really hard lately to change my perspective on discipline and be less agitated, thanks to Christine. And it was awesome to hear the same approach from Dr. Judy. Dads, be patient, be calm, and be understanding." Great first day of the summit. So dads, if you are out there today watching with us, like, you are totally awesome. Ladies, if you feel like your hubby should hear some of the messages, you can easily say something like, "I just watched the most amazing live session with Dr. Judy at the Virtual Parenting Toddler Summit. You have to hear this. We need to try this. She was funny and inspiring and down to earth. I would be happy to watch the replay with you. Want to watch it with me?" I mean, how can they say no, right? But if they do, it's okay too. Like, don't make a fight about it. Show him by modeling. Judy said within a couple of weeks of using this method, you could see results. So just show him and he'll totally catch on. So without further ado, we are going to hear from a dad, from Dustin. And he is, I'm just going to read his bio for you. "Being a working dad of 4 kids, many people ask Dustin, 'How do you do it?' I can hardly do it with one. Most people don't know that he's also running a business on the side. Dustin Hill has spent the last 10 years figuring out what it takes to discover and stick to your dreams while deepening the connections with our little ones. He loves to help people dream because he knows that as you're more fulfilled, those you love will be more happy." I'm going to say that again. He knows that as you're more fulfilled, those that you love are more happy. So give Dustin some love in the chat, and he is going to take it away today.
Awesome. Well, hey, thanks so much. It's really good to be here with all of you. And, while you're in there, chatting, I want you to give Christine some love. She's put a lot of work into this. And so, everyone just say, thank you so much, Christine, for putting on all these, things together, because it's really awesome to have, this event. And I'm super grateful to be here. So thank you so much. And
Yeah.
Yeah, well, great. And I'm super excited to be here and just to share part of my story. And, and that I appreciate that intro, and so for me, like, Christine mentioned, I'm a working dad, and I have 4.5 kids. So, some people are like confused about the half a kid. They're like, what does that really mean? And that means that we're having another one. So in September, we're going to have number 5. So we're excited. We don't know the gender yet. We've always found out, a couple of times we've done a reveal. I think this time we'll actually just wait until, like, we'll pick 2 names and then wait until the hospital. We'll see. I don't know. That's kind of what Amy's hoping to do. So I'm like, okay, sounds good to me. So,
Yeah.
but like Christine mentioned, though, a lot of people ask me, like, how do you do it? Like, how do you actually, like, I have a hard time with one kid. Like, I remember the other day I was at the park, and I'm there, pushing them around those little spinny things. That's what my sons call it, is like, oh, the spinny thing, let's go to the spinny park. So I'm there, pushing them around and going real fast. And then, one of them jumps out, they go on the slide. The other one goes in the little playhouse. And, and then there's this other dad there, and he has one toddler there that's running around, and he's just like, kind of, you can tell he's a little bit stressed, he's a little flustered, and he kind of comes up to me. He's like, well, how do you do it? Like, I mean, I can hardly do it with one. And, and that's just like something that I want to share is, how do you do it when you have multiple kids, or even if it's just one? Like, I know how difficult that it can be. And so I guess I just want to say that because, I know how you feel. I know that there's some, sometimes crazy things at night. Last night we had some craziness going on. I won't get into the details, but, there's always, kind of these things going on. But there's these few things that I've learned that have really just helped me to be a lot happier. And like Christine mentioned, to like be more fulfilled, as a parent, because really it's one of the biggest, kind of misbeliefs that we have sometimes as parents is like, oh, like, I don't have time to take care of myself. And so that's why I'm glad that you're here in this summit, because this is a way that you can do that, to say, okay, what are some of those things that I can learn, that I can do, and realize that I do need to take care of me, because it actually will help me be, a better parent. And so, you'll notice that I'm wearing this, Croatian jersey on today. So maybe you didn't know this was from Croatia, but this is where it's from. They love the checkers, and you may have seen them in the World Cup recently. And so, today I want to talk about 3 different things that I learned while I was in Croatia, or related to Croatia, that you would like to, that will help you out, as a parent. And, the reason I want to, talk about these stories, is that, as likely, as a parent, that when you teach your kids through stories and through media, that really resonates with them, and so that's just something I want, to do today, as well, as to really talk about these 3 different stories. And so the first story that I want to talk about is my friend Luca. So I was in Croatia, and just, a little background there. So I lived in Croatia for 2 years. There's a lot of Z's there in the different names. So I was in Zadar, in Zagreb, Zaprešić. So all Z's is the different cities that I lived in. And I was there, as a service missionary. I was there to help, for a couple of years. And I was really, grateful to be there to help people with English, to help them, like we helped some people with like their house that had, burned on fire, and that we helped them clean that up and do different things. And we also would help people learn about Jesus Christ, because that's something, I believe in, and it's really helped me. And so, and I was there. And so, this first story, again, is about Luca. So Luca, we met him outside this old building. So we met in this building, it's downtown Zagreb, and just across the street, there's this beautiful park, all this grass laying around. There's these beautiful oak trees, a lot of shade. And then there's these streets with, jam-packed with cars, as you can imagine in Europe. And also too, if anybody, I just wanted to mention too, just in the chat, put like, if you know where Croatia is, or if you've been there before, or about it, like put something in there in the chat so we can kind of, hear about what you've seen there. Because at first I thought like Croatia, I didn't even really know where it was when I was going to go there. It was like, it's like by Russia somewhere. And I mean, it is Eastern Europe, but it's a beautiful place. And so I'm excited to, share these stories with you. And so anyways, get back to the story. So I'm there. We just had left the park. We're going across the crosswalk, and we get to this building, and the building's all gray. It's got kind of like that, like gargoyle statue type things on it, as you can imagine. And as we're crossing the street, there's these cars on the sides, and we see this guy that's standing out there. And this guy, he's got a black beanie on. His hair is kind of long. He's got this beard. It looks like he hasn't shaven in a while. And his clothes are a little ragged, it's like he's been wearing these same clothes for a while. And so, we stopped by and found out that this is Luca. And so Luca goes to tell us a story about him, and how his mom had actually given him her apartment. And so kind of like an inheritance in a sense. And so he had this beautiful place to live, all these things that, he was kind of carefree. And he talked about how he was a little bit reckless in a sense, that he didn't really see, the I guess all of the blessings that he had because of that. And so it turns out that he ends up um, losing that apartment. He kind of he'd spent all the money and everything like that, and so he ended up on the street. So that's why he was on the street. And we started talking to him, and he was really, we could tell that what we were teaching him was really resonating with him, that he started to see that God could help him in his life. And it was really great to be able to work with him. But there was a slight problem. The fact that he didn't have a place to live and he didn't have a job, and he really, like, we realized that we couldn't really help him, like, and teach him without him having those basic needs, right? He couldn't really go on with that. And so what we did is we tried to help him, hook him up with a place to live. We also tried to help him find, a job, because we're like, if we can just help him find a job, get these basic needs, then we'll be able to help him even more. And so the reason I bring that up is because that was kind of like me. Like, I've never been homeless or anything like that. But for me, I used to, like, not have true love for myself. And I'll bring up why this is important. And so Tony Robbins, I went through one of his programs, and he talked about the importance of loving yourself, and how, love is a basic need that we all have. So we all need to truly, have that love, and we're always seeking that, right? Like, we have our families, hopefully, and obviously all of you here, you have your kids. And so, we rely on this love. But the thing is that there's one really key piece to this, that if you truly love yourself, then that's kind of like that, having that foundation and that shelter, in a sense, that if you actually love yourself, then it allows you to then love those around you, and to be less vulnerable when other things happen. Like, you get in an argument, your kids are screaming at you, those different things. It's sometimes hard, because you feel, if you don't have that love for yourself, then sometimes you just, like, you go so up and down. And that's what was happening to me, is I felt like my life was great, super blessed, and all these things were happening. I wasn't truly loving myself. And I didn't know this for a long time. But as I'd get in an argument, with my wife, or as the kids were tough, or things at work weren't going well, then I started to see that I wasn't really truly happy, right? Then I would be in this low, dip for a long time. Finally, I could get out of it as they started to love me. But then I realized that I wasn't truly loving myself. And so that's one of the first things I want to share with you, is that it's really important for you to understand and to make sure that you are taking care of yourself, and that you're loving yourself. Like, as we prioritize time for ourselves, that's a way to show that you love yourself. And a lot of you are probably like, okay, Dustin, that sounds great, but, like, I've got these toddlers running around. Like, how do I possibly find time to do that? And the first thing I'll say, some of you won't like this, but, like, well, let me, pull out your phone. If you have an iPhone, go to screen time. Let's go check real quick, how much time is on social media or on different things. Like, I'm sure there's things that you could find that, like, oh yeah, I could probably cut this out and that out, but even more than that, I want you just to think of, there's always ways to do that. Like, one thing that I started doing when I started to, like, love myself is I really wanted to take care of my body more and to work out more. And I know that doesn't sound like super appealing if that's something you're into right now, but I just started to feel so different. And so that's something, even with the kids awake, you can still do that. And it's actually a great thing, because your kids will see you, working out, and see you doing the things that are important. And so anyways, there's a lot of different, strategies we can go into as far as, like, how you find that time. But I just want you to just first, decide right now that you do need to love yourself, and you need to take care of yourself, and to see that that's the most important, or not the most important, but it is a key piece to actually caring about others, is that, if you have that love for yourself, then you'll be able to love others. And so, before I go into the next couple stories, I was just curious, Christine, if you had any questions or anything that you wanted to bring up, or should I?
Oh my goodness. You are amazing. Yes, exactly. You are right on. Absolutely.
Okay, cool. Great. So it looks like, Amber, you've been to Croatia. That's awesome. And Serbia and Beograd. So awesome. That's so cool. Yeah, it's a It's a beautiful place. I love that down there. So, okay, awesome. Well, so now we know the importance of loving ourselves and, taking care of ourselves. And so the second thing that I wanted to bring up is the importance of gratitude. And so I remember this was actually after I was in Croatia. I'd been back for a few years and I was already married. My wife and I, we were in Austin, Texas at the time. We had 2 kids, and so we were, looking forward to, actually welcoming someone else to our family as well. So our 3rd kid was on the way. And I remember like Amy and I had this discussion. Amy's my wife. And so she said, hey, I think that we need another car. Like we need to have 2 cars, and it was something that being in America, a lot of times, I'm sure we have other people around the globe as well, but I think in America specifically, a lot of times there's these things that like, well, yeah, everybody like has 2 cars. Like that's just how it is, right? Like we kind of grew up like that, like that's just a standard. And then I thought back to Croatia and I remember that, if I think through all the different people that I met, that it was probably 10% of the people that I knew that had a car. Right. I mean, most people used public transportation. They walked around and, in Europe's a little bit differently set up. Like it's not as spacious. That was one thing I was really surprised about when I came back. I was like, oh, wow, like everything's so spread out here. But it's one of those things that, I realized that like the people that had a car, like they were just so grateful that they even had that. And they were confused too, because we'd get in this conversation about, oh yeah, like if we're, in America, like we might just drive down the street to go visit a friend or something like that. And they're like, why would you do that? Like, that's just like, you're wasting gas. And it was just such a different mindset because again, it was something that they're really grateful just to have even 1 car, right? Let alone 2. And so that's just the next thing that I wanted to bring up is that it's really important for us to be grateful. And that's one way to combat like depression or those hard times is for you to take a second and to really just be grateful for the things that you have. So, one thing that you can do, like some people, what they'll do is they'll like at night, whenever they go to bed, they're going to be writing down like the top, 3 things that they're grateful for. Or sometimes it's in the morning, people are doing a gratitude journal. But it really can be whatever you think is the best for you. But the power of just really thinking about the blessings that you have and how you are blessed can make such a difference. It can help you to realize that, okay, life is not as bad as it is. And that there's a lot of good things that we do have. Because really the trick here is that whatever you focus on expands. Whatever you focus on is what you're going to continue to work towards, right? So if you always are focusing on, oh, but I just don't have this, I don't have that, then you're going to continue to see, oh, I don't have this and I don't have that. Whereas if you're continuing to see, you know what, like this is where I'm at right now. And yes, I want to get to this next spot, but this is where I'm at, and I am very grateful for these things because as we see the blessings that we have, it'll help us to continue to have the energy to move forward, right? If your energy is down here and you're always thinking about just the things you don't have, it's hard to get up to actually move forward. And so I encourage you to think about, that gratitude and how you can use that in your own life. And, and I'll just say as well, like just another story is that I remember coming back from work one day and my wife, she was like just fed up. Like it was just a crazy day. Everything went wrong. It seemed like with the kids, and she was just feeling really bad. Like she just felt bad about like not getting the things done that she wanted to and all these different things. And, I remember just talking to her and saying, hey, like, is everyone still alive? And she's like, yeah. And I'm like, okay, cool. I think we're good. Like, sometimes it's like, okay, we didn't get to clean up this, we didn't get to do that, but we don't need to beat ourselves up about over these things. Like there's things that are way more important, right? And so to me, it's like, I know that Amy loves my kids, like our kids, and that she takes care of them every single day. And that to me is like, what's the most important, right? And so sometimes just give yourself a little bit of slack as well on that as well. So the last story that I want to bring up is just to enjoy the moment. And so back when I was in Croatia, my parents, they'd never been to Croatia before. I hadn't either. And so when I was done, with about 2 years, they came out and they wanted to see Croatia and meet some of the people that I met. And, it was a really interesting experience because I had really grown to love the people of Croatia, and I still do. Like, there's still like a special place in my heart that goes out to them, that I love those people there. There's so many amazing people that I met, and I just love the culture and really just dove into that. And, I do speak Croatian as well, which is a lot of fun. But it was just this really interesting experience because my parents are here. And so we're going to these different cities. We went to Pula, which has one of the most amazing like amphitheaters, like those Roman, like the Colosseums, right? Like they're all like, this one's like the most intact in the world. And it was so cool to go there and see that. For me though, it was like, I really just wanted to introduce them to all my friends, all the people that I'd met. It was so fun to be able to take them around. We went down to the coast of Zadar, and we were able to meet with some of the members there and be able to help them. And it was just really fun to be able to introduce them. And so, the reason I bring this up though, is because again, it was kind of this difficult transition for me in a sense, because here are my parents, which I hadn't seen for 2 years. And I was really excited to be able to see them, but I'm leaving this other family. Like I felt like I'd built this other family in Croatia. And so now I'm like, I don't want to leave this family that I have. Right. And so the reason that I bring this up is that I want all of us to make sure that we are enjoying the moments in our lives, right, with our kids. That, one of the common themes that I see with parents that have kids that are not toddlers anymore, that are maybe, teenagers or older, is they say, make sure to enjoy that, right? Enjoy that time, because they are going to grow up. And as you know, as a parent, time flies, right? Like it's amazing to see how quickly our kids grow up, but it's, my oldest right now, she's going to be turning 8 tomorrow actually. And so we're having a party and it'll be a lot of fun. But again, it's like time does go by so fast. And so it's really important to enjoy the moment. And I remember actually, so Miley, she's my oldest and she's going to be 8, like I said. And so 8 years ago, I remember holding her in my arms for the very first time, which is such an amazing experience. I'm sure all of you can relate to that. It's just like something you really just can't explain, like the amazing feeling that you have from doing that. But I remember, as Miley was growing up, she's a couple months old, and I remember her it was just like a newborn. So doesn't do a whole lot, right? You just kind of hold her and snuggle and things like that. And I remember just thinking like, oh, it'd be really fun. Like when she starts to crawl, right? It'll be fun when she's like a little more interactive and things like that. But immediately after thinking that, I was like, you know what? I need to enjoy this time though, because if I think about the future always of like, oh, it'll be so fun when this, it'll be so fun when that, then am I ever going to enjoy it? Because it would be like, oh, once she's crawling and interacting more, then okay, now like I'm good, right? Like no, I'd be thinking about the next thing. Oh, it'll be fun when she talks. Oh, it'll be fun when she does this, And so I was like, I had that distinct thought, just enjoy the moment. And so that's what I encourage you to do is to find those things that are fun, right? What are the fun things, the funny things that happen? And I'll throw in just kind of a bonus tip or as well right here too. So my nephew, he's like 4 now, I think. And we were with them, with our kids. And it was just really funny because he kind of has this like whiny voice sometimes. Like he just tends to whine a little bit more than others, it seems like. Which I have a son like that as well. But anyway, so it was just interesting though, because when we were there and he'd go up to his mom and he's like, oh, I just want this thing. And he's all like crying and things. It's just like, but since I wasn't the parent, like it was pretty funny. Like I actually like was able to laugh about that because I was just like, it just sounds funny, right? But I know for like my brother and sister-in-law, it wasn't that funny, right? Because I've been through that too. Like when my kids are the one whining, then I'm like, oh, okay, like really, why are you whining? But I had this thought, I was like, well, why can't I laugh about this, right? Like, why can't I change how I'm thinking about this and just, when my kids are doing the same thing, why can't I laugh about it? And not that I have to totally like laugh in their face, but like, again, like, why can't I like have a little bit better attitude when it's my kid? And so I started to do that and focus on that. And sure enough, like I was able to do that, right? And that's really the power of like mindset, which, we'll talk about another time. But it's really, we do have the power to do that. And so really, I guess kind of how it's related here is just that it's important for us to really enjoy the moment that we do have, because again, there's a lot of good that is happening. And I know, again, especially with toddlers, it can be really tough. Our youngest right now has just turned 3. So definitely still in that phase as well. Right there with you guys. But it's one of those things that, if you enjoy those moments, like your life is going to be so much better. And so I encourage you to think about that and to be able to figure out, what can you do now to actually enjoy some of those moments a little bit. And so those are the 3 things that I really want to share with you. But I know also that, a lot of you are wondering, like, so Dustin, like, what can I do during the summer? Like, I know this 2020 has been a little bit of a crazy year, like a lot of stuff going on, and it's a little bit scary in a sense. And so one of the things that I've put together, it's funny, Christine and I have kind of had similar, ideas going in this summer, but is to, I put together a summit as well, which is going to be this Friday. It's just like a 1-day summit. And so you can go and access all the videos just on that day, and they'll be available for a few days. And so, that's one of the things that I've been doing to give back. And so I encourage you to go, check that out. And, we'll put a link in here somewhere to go check that out. But the other thing too, that I'm doing, and this will be kind of the end of the summit, but is just, I'm putting together an awesome program just to like help parents throughout the summer of like, hey, like, let's really come together and figure out the things that you want to focus on, and make sure that we do those things and we get them done. And so if you're interested in that, definitely, that'll be a part of the summit, but then also just, you can reach out to me as well, and just love to be able to connect. And so the reason, I guess I'm so passionate about, helping parents is because for me, it's like I've gone through such a transformation myself as a parent, that I used to come home just so tired, just like didn't have energy for my kids. But now it's like so different. I feel like I'm able to manage my stress and my energy so much more, and to be able to give so much more to them, because I figure out ways to be able to, to help them out, and to help myself out too. And I remember as I've gone through this journey and worked on mindset, and really was able to understand the power of our minds, and thoughts that we have each day, that I started to be able to actually help my kids with that as well. So I remember my daughter, that she was having a really rough time, and she was feeling really down and really depressed. And, I remember, sitting down at the kitchen table, and I had her come over to sit on my lap and say, Miley, come here, like, let me, let's talk for a minute. And I just said, hey, do you know that I love you so much? She's like, yeah, I do. Like, and do you love yourself? And she says, yeah, I love myself. And, and then but I just really wanted to help her see that she was just having a hard time about like being positive about herself. And so what I told her is, I said, hey, kid, what I want you to do is, the next time that you are thinking something negative about yourself, I want you to pull out a piece of paper and to go write down what you're thinking, right? And I'm hoping that split moment of you being able to take a step back and be able to write something down, that you'll be able to actually, not get upset at yourself, that you'll be able to be, a little bit happier in that way. And so as I did that, I remember feeling so much joy. It was almost like that joy that I had when I held her in my arms for the very first time. And I just knew that I was able to help her. And so that's my encouragement for you, is just to know that spending this time on yourself is so important. And that's why I'm so glad that you're here at the summit, you're working on yourself, because it really is the thing that will allow you to help your kids. Because if you can imagine, so there's a study recently that was published about emotional contagion. So basically that, as leaders come into a room, and this was more in a business setting, that as they come into the room, their mood totally affects the entire conversation and everyone in the room. And that's the same thing with parents though, right? I mean, for us, as we come home, as we interact with our kids, if we have actually that energy and we're feeling great, then they feel that, they totally feel that, and it just energizes them as well. But when we don't, then it can be hard. And so that's why I just encourage you to continue to think about those things that you can do to really help in that way, to be able to find that joy and be able to do that for your kids. Because really, in the end, if you're not going to do it for yourself, just do it for your kids. Like, this is how you need to do it. You need to take care of yourself so you can take care of them. And if the motivation isn't enough to do it for you, then do it for your kids, because that really is the thing that will make such a difference for them.
Awesome, Dustin. Thank you. So we did have one question that I think you would love to answer.
Yeah.
They asked, in the heat of the moment, how do you remember gratitude? the way you ask Amy if the kids are okay and everything's alive and everyone's alive, well, we may not have someone to diffuse the situation and give us a reminder all the time. So how do I make it possible to remind myself in the heat of the moment and take things lightly?
Yeah, no, that's a really good question. And so there's a few things I'll say with that. One is it's important to work on these things when you're not in the moment. You know what I mean? And so there's one really quick thing that I'll share with you, which is really actually helped me a ton. And it's super easy to do. And it's just something you just need to try, like just trust me on it. But because I remember, so Brendan Bouchard, he talked about how if he could just help people with transitions, that it would make all the difference, right? And so like, oh, you're coming back from work or you're going from here and then you're coming home, like whatever it is. And so, but what he talked about is called RMT, which is release meditation. I think it's technique is what it is. And so what he suggests doing is to take 30 to 60 seconds where you close your eyes and you simply say, release, 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 and you really think about like all the stress and everything releasing from your body, like your shoulders and your legs and everything. And you can totally do this with your eyes open as well. Like actually a lot of times we'll do this just as I'm going down the stairs for a second, like, and I realize that I might be in a situation that's going to be difficult. And so that's something you can do really easily. But again, it's something that you kind of have to do, like you got to practice it now. And so that's why I would recommend like, hey, anytime you're having a transition, maybe you're having dinner and then afterwards you're going to go, somewhere, then do that really quickly and see that, like, I guess really the idea is that you got to continue to increase that level, like of your energy throughout the day. It's not just at that one point. And so really trying to figure out that's one thing that you can do for sure. But I also just say there is just, sometimes just removing yourself from the situation is all that you need. And so, if you're in the heat of the moment, I know that I've done this before where it's like, okay, I need to go away just for a second. And, you don't even have to anyways, you leave your kid maybe it's even just in the same room, depending on how old they are, I don't know exactly, but it's something that you can just step away for a sec and just breathe. Like breathing is such a big thing. And that's what actually this whole release meditation thing has helped me a lot too, is like, release, like it's just, it kind of forces you to breathe and to do that. And so it's just any type of small break that you can have can really help for sure. I think though too, as far as another thing that you could do in that situation is just, I guess, come up with a game plan beforehand. So that like maybe there's a situation that happens every once in a while, like your kid just is flailing their arms, they're kicking, they're screaming. And so you're not and so what do you do in that situation? It's really easy to just get upset and you're like, oh, I just want to yell at them. Like if you can come up with a plan that works for you of like, okay, when this happens, this is what I'm going to do, tell your brain, like, this is the plan. So then when something does come up, then you can do that. And one last tip too, is just to have a playlist. So if you have a playlist that you can listen to, and maybe it's even with the kids too, right? You just put on a speaker, but something you can listen to change the mood, to be able to really do some sort of pick me up as well, because music has that power, right? To really change the mood. And so if you have something like that, you can be like, okay, boom, I can play that. So anyways, hopefully those are just a few tips that could help.
Absolutely. One of the other things I was thinking, in Dustin and I, we took a course together recently, and in the course, they told us to pick 3 adjectives to describe yourself, followed by a noun, like what you are. So 3 things to describe yourself. So maybe as a parent, you might say, I am a nice, happy, active parent, or whatever you want those 3 things to be. And if you keep saying that to yourself over and over again, you're going to start to believe it, but also hopefully that's what you are as well. So when you get down and something's bothering you, or you're in that heat of the moment, you can remind yourself, I am these things, I've got this. And do the releasing just like Dustin said. Absolutely. There was one other thing, Dustin, you were saying, go back to my notes here, about how you write down 3 things per day that you're grateful for, like at the end of the day. And I was thinking, with our son, like when we put him, our oldest son, when we put him to bed, we always pray, and we always help him along, and we say, okay, what did you like about today? And he can come up with things that we did, and even things that you didn't really think of, like, oh, he was excited he got to eat noodles for dinner. Like, whoa. Like just little stuff like that. Or I was so happy that I got to go outside and play in the pool, or whatever it is. And just those things, hearing it from your toddler, what they're happy for, what they're grateful for, really like picks me up too, just hearing what they are thinking as well. So something we do like every night with him. And that's like what you said, like we're talking about our gratitude, but then we also get a piece where we can say, oh, well, who is somebody that you're really thankful for, and we can kind of lead them to a higher level of thinking, rather than, oh, I like this toy, I like, whatnot. But that always helps us too, to like really focus in on our gratitude, for sure. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's great. No, and what I would say too is that's something you can even do at dinner time as well, if that works as well. Is that sometimes it's like, well, what do you talk about at dinner? And you can talk about, well, if you like, there's someone that talked about like, the 4 H's, but like, what's made you happy today? What, like, that's kind of like a gratitude type of thing, or, what are you grateful for? Grateful for, sometimes maybe kids, it's like, well, what does that really mean? But like, what made you happy? And going through some of these different questions at dinner time can be a great thing as well, to also do it as a family. So I love that. So it looks like, so Liz has a question, how can you help a child who is quick to negative talk towards themselves? And what I would probably ask first of all is if that's something that you've struggled with at all, Liz. So I'm not sure if you have, and if you have, like, what have you done to overcome it? Because that's probably the best way to help, if you have. Because I know for me that I actually used to struggle with that so much. And again, I think really focusing on loving myself is what really helped me. And so that's what I would say, is that that's probably one of the biggest things, is if you can help your son or your daughter to see why they are so important, and that they need to love themselves, and that it is really important to say good things about themselves, then that's something that I think can help. And kind of like what Christine said, is that if you have like a simple phrase that you can think about, it makes it that much easier. So I'll give you an example too. So for me, when I first started on this whole journey of, helping parents, I remember, so my first goal was to lose 20 pounds. And, again, it's like, that doesn't have to do with parenting, right? But I set this goal, and I really wanted to hit it. And to me, it was more than just a goal though. To me, it was the fact that I could do this thing and gain the confidence so that I could do anything. And as I went through that process, like, I just knew, I was like, I have to help parents. Like, I have to, because for me, it's made such a difference as I've learned these things and being able to focus on myself. And so what I did though, as after I lost that, then I was like, really like, okay, well, how do I help parents now? And one of the biggest things though that came to mind for me, it was that, because I was like, okay, so if I'm going to help parents, but if I fail as a dad, like, and as a husband, then like, does it matter? Like, it doesn't really matter if I'd fail at my own house, right? How am I going to help others? And so, I had this mantra of just to be the best that I can at home, like be the best husband and father at home. And so that was like something that I had, this simple phrase that I could think about, and it was easy for me to like, send my brain there, right? Anything, something was going on, it was like, okay, remember, oh yeah, best behavior at home, because I was really, I felt like at the time I didn't, I was really kind of bugged that I would go to work and sometimes I felt like I was the best that I could, but then I'd come home and I wasn't the best. Like, I would be tired or frustrated or whatever. And so, I was like, I want to change that. And so again, I just, a simple phrase. And so that could be something, Liz, for your daughter or son, is to have, something simple that they could say. And so again, it's going to take some time. So just, be patient with them. But I think if you can help them kind of reframe and help them have their brain be able to focus on something else, then I think that would really make a big difference for them.
Absolutely. Thank you, Dustin. So I know other people were asking some questions. If you would like to connect with Dustin, I will have his information up in the Facebook group as well, along with his summit that's coming up. Did you say that was Friday?
Yep. Yeah, it's Friday.
Okay. Friday, and it's called the Summer Survival Summit, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So I'll have a link to that, to his free summit, which is really exciting. I was checking it out the other day, and he has a lineup of some really good speakers. So definitely something you want to check out. So lastly, before we end for today, I would like to do our prize giveaway winner for sharing the summit right at the beginning. So if you haven't already guessed, I absolutely love prizes. I seriously don't do any events without prizes. It's just how I roll. Prizes motivate me, so I know they motivate other people as well. But we all know that the real prize, of course, is what you're taking out of the summit for your family and for your toddler. So keep sharing that summit with your friends, even though this portion of the prize is over. We have more prizes at the end as well. So let these amazing speakers speak to other families as well. So don't just keep it to yourself. And if you could share the Parenting Toddlers Summit.com link instead of just adding them to the Facebook group, that just helps them so that they get everything that they need, like in the welcome email. And yeah, so our winner, the winner for the $100 of toddler books was Jessica McKinsey Caller. So Jessica, congrats! Woo! You can message me to claim your prize. And then again, this summit has been seriously amazing, and I really just can't wait to share my story with you. It's not all the way until next week on the 16th, but I'm just getting antsy. But again, thank you so much, Dustin. You really helped us. So Judy was talking about how we talk to our kids, and Dustin is helping us to be a better, have a better you so that you can be better for your kids as well. And that's just that's such a big piece of parenting. So thank you so much, Dustin. Give Dustin some kudos, some love in the chat before he hops off here.
Yeah, of course. Thank you so much for having me, everybody. I wish I could come give you a hug. I mean, I don't know if I could do that if we were in person, but definitely appreciate all of that. And, appreciate the questions too. Definitely happy to help in the future as well.
Absolutely. Yes. If you want to connect with Dustin, you can do so through our Facebook group, and I'll post everything in a post later today with a replay. So again, you guys are amazing. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you tomorrow.
See you guys.